Welcome back to Extra Shot, the weekly pod spilling the funniest stories in sport. On the pod today, Lucas Paqueta's miserable birthday present, a Mr. Bean imposter sparks a bitter sporting feud, and why you should never accept a dinner invitation from Joe Cole. I'm Zach. With me is Mr. George Cooper.
Hello, mate. You alright?
I'm good, thank you. How you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on, as always.
Yeah, we're without Jack today.
Indeed.
Off at another nudist retreat, I
He
think.
can't help himself, can he?
Yeah.
Can't get enough of him.
No, he's actually ill. He's a shivering wreck in his bed somewhere, I think.
Yeah, get well soon, Jack.
Yeah, we are. It's just the two of us today.
It is indeed. Rattling about the office.
Yeah.
Last minute call up.
Yeah.
Feel drastically unprepared, but we'll see how we go.
You're a fan favourite, George. Have you had any more erotic fiction on the go?
I'm working on my third title currently.
Yeah.
It's about the Lazio eagle handler and his
Ooh.
escapades, which I know we'll be coming on to shortly. So I don't want to reveal too much.
I think that he would make a very good erotic fiction novel. In fact, the twists that are coming up would probably make an interesting chapter, because I do have another update on Juan Bernabe. So we've dedicated quite a few column inches to him over the last few weeks. He's the pun. Yeah, he's the Lazio eagle handler mascot who was sacked for sharing photos of his new prosthetic penis on Instagram, on the Instagram account he shares with his eagle, I should say. Last week we told you he popped up at a Serie D match with Olympia, his eagle, like parading it around the pitch as he used to do at Lazio. And, looking at that, it kind of seemed that maybe he'd gracefully moved on from his role at Lazio. He was, pursuing new opportunities, rebuilding his reputation. But it turns out that could not be further from the truth. So the Lazio president, Claudio Lotito, did an interview yesterday where he revealed that Juan has now barricaded himself in the Lazio training ground. So he said it's a serious problem because he's now barricaded himself in there and doesn't want to come out. We are taking all legal action to make this happen because what happened is shameful. So apparently Juan was living at the training ground already, which to me already seems quite weird.
Yeah, usually that kind of perk would be reserved for like a janitor maybe, or like the chief groundsman.
Yeah, or the youth team players maybe.
Or
does the eagle handler really need?
It's a bit weird. It's very Italian, isn't it? All living under one roof.
Yeah. That was the only time that his mum let him move out. Was he's got a room at the Lazio training ground.
Was he just there? Was he just embodied? He's the eagle is the mascot, but I thought it was just sort of a bit of pageantry that was reserved for match days, not all times.
He lives. He's got an aviary on site as well, where Olympia lives.
Just Juan Bernabe with a big leather glove with a bit of meat on the end of a string, just as they're doing heading drills.
He's got a huge freezer full of frozen mice. But anyway, so they've apparently been trying to kick him out of this flat for the last month since he shared those pictures and got sacked. But he's responded. He said, "I was treated like a criminal, but I will stay here as long as the law allows it." So he's really sort of digging his heels in.
Olympia digging her claws in.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's a pretty good first line of defence. I don't know how the eviction officers are going to deal with a huge eagle.
Which do you think he's going to set the eagle on the sort of bailiffs as they come in?
Yeah,
sort of like the flying monkeys in Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, unless
just attack Olympia.
I hope that he hasn't roped Olympia into this protest. He's not like putting Olympia on a hunger strike to protest his innocence. He's also threatening to sue Lazio apparently for unfair dismissal.
I mean, he doesn't really have a leg to stand. I don't know the small print of Juan Bernabe's contract, but
yeah,
I can't imagine this is what his actions are in breach. I would imagine.
Posting nudes. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's very strange. But because also we were talking about last week how he popped up at this Serie D match, which sort of like, how did he get out if he's barricaded himself in? I'm wondering if he like slipped out the back window, because you think like they just change the locks when he
does
out.
eventually slip out.
But yeah, I don't know. It's
How do you see this? How do you see this ending?
I would like him to really knuckle down and just like refuse to leave. Like he'll become like a long-term feature of the Lazio training ground. Maybe something that, when you have tourists will come and go and have a look around the stadium, have a look around the training ground, and then it's just like Juan. He's sort of like a Rapunzel type figure, like up at the top window of the training ground with Olympia the eagle.
Yeah, he just refuses to go.
Yeah,
you occasionally hear it in like local news. Like there's a fellow who's like living in Hampstead Heath who refuses to leave.
If he stays there for another 30 years, then he becomes the legal owner of.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, getting a man out of a house which is owned by the club. I mean, how hard can it be?
Yeah,
for want of a better expression.
Yeah, I mean he's armed with an eagle, so harder than most.
Just imagine the police brief. They're like, okay, we've got a trouble tenant that we need to remove. Anything I should know? Okay, male, around
Huge
50. Careful, don't avoid prompting anything around his midriff, because it's unpredictable down there. I don't know what's going to happen.
Don't make me press the button.
Yeah. Also, slight issue that he's wielding an apex predator that could attack at any moment.
Yeah, maybe that's his sort of Rapunzel defense thing. That instead of where Rapunzel was like trying to dangle her hair out of the window, he's got his huge prosthetic cock.
That could be like, have you ever seen the film Bronson where he barricades himself in the prison cell? The film Bronson about Charles Bronson.
I haven't seen it.
It's one of the most famous British prisoners of all time. But he used to do this thing whenever he got in trouble with the prison officers, where he'd get stripped completely naked and grease himself up in butter, so that when the prison guards came to try and take him down, he was just too slippery. But do you think Juan Bernabé do a similar thing but activate his robocock? It's like a deterrent.
Just windmilling. Yeah. I think that would make a good chapter of your erotic fiction.
It's
about him.
It's made the first draft. We'll see how it comes out.
Yeah, I every time I think that this story is going to come to an end and Juan is going to sort of disappear into the background and another twist pops up.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I'm wondering where this is going next.
Do you think Juan is playing up to it? Like he's aware of his newfound stardom and he's seeing this as a route into
like reality TV,
or even
we
like
were
porn,
about
which feels
porn,
like what he kind of
about
wants
this
to.
Last week. Yeah, to be honest, I think he just loves what he does with the eagle, and I guess it's difficult. Like he's barricading himself in the training ground. It kind of implies that there's no way back for him at Lazio. Actually, there was another detail I forgot to mention, that the Lazio president said he has previous form for doing this. He did it at Benfica as well, like refusing to leave. So Benfica, I don't know. He's a stubborn guy.
Are you saying that in the near future the exact same thing could happen at Crystal Palace, and he's just going to make his way around the Eagle clubs until there's
he's barricaded himself at East Croydon Station? Yeah,
it's funny. Like there are a finite amount of clubs which he could go to that have the eagle in the logo before he just gets a sort of like blacklisted ban.
Yeah.
Have you seen this handler? Do not allow him anywhere near the premises. It's bad news.
Yeah, him barricading himself also slightly reminded me of. Do you remember the story last year about Luis Rubiales, the Spanish FA chief?
Yeah.
When there was obviously this huge furore when he kissed Jenny Hermoso after the World Cup final, and his mum barricaded herself in the local church and went on hunger strike, and she was complaining about like an inhumane witch hunt against her son.
Yeah. He's since been charged with sexual assault. Yeah,
so. She hasn't come out on the right side of that one, which I could have told her at the start, to be honest. But she ended up getting like carried out after 2 days. Like doctors had to come in because her hunger strike was not going well.
Yeah. Hopefully the same
hopefully-
fate will not meet Olympia.
Yeah, that would be sad. Yeah, hopefully he's got a good supply of frozen mice in his chest freezer.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel this isn't the last that we're going to hear of Juan Bernabe.
I really hope
He'll be a recurring. He'll become. He's already in friend of the pod territory, but
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to become an upshot legend.
He's already cemented himself as a upshot man of the year. I
Oh
think.
yeah, for
So
sure. Like
we're already in mid-Feb.
he's going to
and,
sweep up at the end of year awards.
Yeah.
My next prediction is OnlyFans. I think that's going to be his.
I think he could make good money on that.
Yeah, it remains to be determined whether it will be a joint OnlyFans between him and Olympia, which I really hope
Is that
is.
legal?
But they have a joint Instagram account.
Yeah, with nudes on it. So yeah, I mean,
We'll
we'll
put it
see.
past him.
Moving on from Juan, it's been a little while since we checked in on Tyreek Hill, the NFL star. He's got, I would say, one of the most exhausting private lives I've ever encountered. So he plays for the Miami Dolphins. He's the one who fathered 3 kids in 4 months, all by different mums. A few months after that, he then had another kid with his actual wife, and then accidentally filed for divorce from her. So he explained that he'd basically been complaining to his lawyer about his wife, just like, yeah, she's getting on my nerves. Like, man, I should divorce her. And the lawyer misunderstood that and actually filed for divorce. He later described his lawyer as a fucking bonehead. And they managed to.
That's a big fuck up, that, isn't it?
Yeah. The scene, you could just imagine him just pulling his hair out, just moaning about she always makes me take out the bins, she's always yapping in my ear, man, I should divorce her. And the lawyer's like, what? Just does it.
You'd imagine it would need a lot more kind of signatures and sign off, but yeah, in Miami that's done, signed, sealed.
Yeah. Well, he did manage to turn that one around, but the legal troubles haven't stopped there. So Tyreek was giving evidence last week after being sued by an OnlyFans star who claims that Tyreek broke her leg during a backyard game of American football at his house in 2023. So the accuser is Sophie Hall, who describes herself as a plus-sized model who specializes in tall girl content, face-sitting, and giantess vids.
Right. Would you care to explain this particular category of...
Well,
I mean, face-sitting is self-explanatory.
I think
how tall are we talking?
She's not actually not that tall. She was 6'1", which I guess is...
That's pretty tall.
It's pretty tall for women. Not
It's tall for a man.
It's tall. It is tall, yeah. Yeah, I suppose. He says that he got in touch with her after watching plenty of her sex tapes and to satisfy his tall girl fetish. So basically, he flew her out to his mansion in Florida, and she's probably expecting to just lounge by the pool, drink some pina coladas, maybe slip on a bikini and reach those chickpeas on the top shelf. But instead, Tyreek suggests that they do some American football practice drills. So apparently her son plays American football, and he suggested to her that she could learn more about the offensive lineman position, which I don't think that's what she came for, but fair enough. And
Famously have to be quite tall to fill that role within the NFL team, I think.
Do you?
Yeah.
I imagine that her son is also pretty tall. I don't know. But anyway, it was all sort of fun and games to begin with until Sophie knocks Tyreek over in front of his family and his trainer, which, Tyreek's an American footballer. She's a big lass herself, but it was still a bit embarrassing for him. And she says that he then became aggressive and charged at her with crushing force. So he basically tackles her to the ground, and she ends up with a broken leg. So
Wow.
you can't do that when you're a professional athlete, I think, against a humble OnlyFans star. His version of the story is slightly different. So he claims that he says he used his speed to glide past her. It's a bit of a humble brag, would he? But that she then stepped back onto his dog and fell over and broke her leg. So there's two sides to every story, I suppose.
Right. Are there any
Um,
witnesses to this?
Well, apparently his family and his trainer are there, so I'm not sure what
I guess we'll
their
find
account
out
of
in
it
court.
is. We'll find out. Yeah.
How long do we
Um,
know how long they've been dating for or going out? This wasn't like the first date, was it?
This was their first date.
Their first date?
Yeah. So he was familiar with her online content, and then flew her out to Florida to come and visit
To
him.
do a few training drills with him.
Yeah, that is a weird first date. I guess you're expecting it's just going to be nice. You get to just like hang out at a fancy mansion.
Getting to know each other.
But yeah, it's odd first date.
As first dates go, obviously ending with a broken leg is about as bad as it can go, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there was a second date.
I would imagine not.
Unless he came to visit her in hospital.
Have you got
I
any
don't think so.
similar first date stories, Zach?
I think I might have told this story in the pod before. My sister's date. This is a good one. So my sister went on a date with this guy. I think it was on like Tinder or Hinge or something like that. And they'd been texting for a bit, and he suggested they go to this car boot sale in Beckham. Which she's always like, it's quite nice. Like it's a nice activity to do. Wander around, like get some stuff. It's quite a low key, nice place to sort of get to know each other. So she went down there, and this guy turns up in a full raccoon outfit, like head to toe, dressed as a raccoon with like a hat and tail on his costume, like sort of raccoon onesie thing. And when sort of like walking towards her, just her heart just sinks. And it's like, oh my god, just you. And anyway, they're talking a bit, and he's like, "Yeah, I was at a party last night. This was my costume, and I haven't really slept." So she's like, "Fuck's sake, like, come on, it's not the first date you're dreaming of." So, but anyway, she's being polite, and they sort of like wander around this car boot sale, and obviously everyone's like staring at this guy. She's like, "Oh my god, please, can we please don't let me bump into anyone that I know." And eventually, she actually does bump into a friend of hers. Who's like, "Oh, you two together?" And she's like, "Yeah, we're on a date.
So
we're on
like,
a date with the raccoon."
Her eyes screaming, "Help me!"
Yeah. And obviously this guy's like, he's not slept. Like he's just talking absolute nonsense. And she eventually, I think she sort of like makes an excuse. Like, I think I'm gonna go and join my friend. And the guy apparently was like, he's like, "Oh, could we see each other again?" And she's like, "I don't think so." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Is it all right if I kiss you?"
Oh my god.
Like, no, I don't think so. Yeah.
Do you know if at any point around the car boot she tried to pick up some clothes that weren't a raccoon outfit for the guy?
Just
Maybe like a sort of what sort of stuff like a World War II jacket or something. Dressing him in random bits and bobs that they picked up at the car boot.
Yeah, like a fox scarf or something. Yeah.
That is wild. I want to know, what was the theme of the party? Did she get that far?
I don't know.
Led him to be dressed up as a raccoon.
Yeah.
In my mind, this guy's so eccentric that there was no theme at the party.
That's just how he dresses.
It's just how he dresses. Also, you got to commend his commitment to the date, because I feel like if you and I were in that situation, we'd just be like, you know what, I'm really sorry, I'm gonna have to reschedule.
Yeah, in a way,
But
you
to
admire the
turn up-
commitment, but also just cool and sick, I think. Anyway, yeah, I think Sophie, what's her name? Sophie Hall. She has a good first date story to tell anyway from this.
Yeah.
When she recovers, because well, she actually says that she broke her leg. She's in quite a lot of pain, but she says they did still manage to shag that night. And then again in the morning.
What?
So
Surely that nullifies any sort of suing. That's going to be read out in court, isn't it?
Yeah, I think maybe she didn't realise that the leg was, broken at that point. But she then flies home the next day and ends up in hospital, ends up needing surgery on this leg. And yeah, that's where we're up to now. So this case is ongoing.
Right.
She's trying to sue him. He claims it was just,
A misdemeanor.
in the rough and tumble of a first date. This is the kind of japes you get up to.
Yeah. Presumably she's got the defensive loss of earnings as well, because I doubt she could be making much content with a broken leg. Or I don't know, maybe that's what her followers are
to be
into.
honest, I think her followers are into some pretty funky stuff. I reckon I don't think that would put them off. Actually, speaking of legal cases, the spot fixing case against West Ham midfielder Lucas Paqueta is still rolling on. It's been going on for ages. I don't know when it's all going to wrap up. We've chatted about it on this pod before, but in case you missed it, Lucas has basically been accused of deliberately getting yellow cards in Premier League matches so that his friends and family can bet on it. So there's 4 different games where he got yellows that have suspicious betting patterns on it. And obviously this is like a very serious allegation. He could be facing a lifetime ban from football if he's found guilty. The FA investigation into it is still ongoing. But last week, Lucas was giving evidence to a separate inquiry by the Brazilian parliament into gambling in football. And we've talked about some of them before, but there's some pretty amusing details to this case. So suspicions were first raised about Lucas when a load of bets were lumped on him getting booked against Aston Villa, and they were traced back to the aptly named Paqueta Island, which is a real island off the coast of Brazil. Is where Paqueta and all of his family are from. So the last time we talked about this story, someone sent in a message that said, "Here in Brazil, we joke that every time Paqueta gets a yellow, the GDP of Paqueta Island doubles," which is pretty good. Also, all of these bets were placed with Betway, which is the West Ham shirt sponsor, which I'm also like, guys, come on. Like, if you're going to have a crooked gambling scheme, then at least use some like dodgy Chinese site, not just the one that's emblazoned on the front of his shirt.
Use code Paqueta for £50 free sign-up bonus.
I wonder if he gets like discount with Betway or something.
I mean, I wouldn't, in the shady world of sports betting, I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, I don't know, but so he was giving evidence to this Brazilian inquiry this week, and they heard that Paqueta allegedly got booked in one match as a birthday present to his brother, which is a seriously shit birthday present. Especially if your brother's like a Premier League footballer. Like, I don't know what Paqueta's on at West Ham. Must be a lot. You probably
80k a week, maybe.
Yeah, it must be. Like, surely either just give him the cash, or you're expecting like a Rolex or a car or, you know, a luxury spa break or something. Instead, he's like, he opens up an envelope on his birthday. So, envelope could be, what's in here? Is it vouchers for a fancy hotel? Opens it up and it's just a betting slip and one of those little blue pens.
Well, yeah, really crap birthday present. Potential in making yourself implicit to a crime.
Yeah,
as well.
Also that. Yeah. So people online were saying that the reason that Lucas allegedly, if he has done this, was doing these dodgy bets, was because his wife wouldn't allow him to send money back to his family, because, I don't know, she thought they were sort of leeches. So this was his way of sort of getting around that and sending some money home. I don't know. That's what people have been speculating. Should say actually that Paqueta does deny any wrongdoing. He says that the allegations are entirely false and he'll fight them with every last breath. So just a little disclaimer there.
Yeah.
Please don't sue us, Lucas.
So it's press speculation that it was a birthday present for his brother, the yellow cards.
That was what was suggested in the
charges.
Well, yeah. So there's this like, it's actually like a separate investigation into gambling and football in general that's going on in the Brazilian parliament at the moment, and Paqueta was giving evidence at it, and one of the things that was suggested there was that he basically got a yellow as a birthday present for his brother.
Ridiculous. Yeah. So presumably Paqueta's facing a long ban if he is found guilty.
If he's found guilty, then he could potentially be banned for life from football.
Got you. I mean, it sounds like a bit of an open secret. If they're calling...
Well, he's still playing, which is odd. I guess he's innocent until proven guilty, right? But I did like when when these allegations were first came out into public that weekend. Do you think Paqueta would sort of keep his head down and, you know, not do anything too suspicious? And in the game that weekend, he got booked for dissent, just like slagging off the ref.
It's totally unnecessary yellow card.
Yeah. So we are deep into February now, and for most people, dry January is a hazy memory of freezing park runs and miserable quality time with your family. Did you do it this year, George?
I did, yeah. Hated every second of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Apart from the one time that me and you went out. So, yeah, I would say that I did it.
I was not expecting you to say that yes then, because
I did it. I got pissed once, which I still think counts as doing dry Jan. But yeah, no, I did.
I'm pretty sure I can count 2 times that I remember drinking with you in January. There was the time we went to the pub with your cousin, and then the time we went to Josh Berry's stand-up.
Oh,
They were both
yeah,
in
maybe I
January.
didn't do it. I don't know whether this seems like I'm just in denial. Like that. I've got a serious problem. I can tell like your face
That
is.
you tried to sell it that you did. But
Yeah,
not to expose you. I mean, no judgments.
Looking at me
But
like.
I was
I'm pretty sure we had like 8 pints of Murphy's at the Hermit's Cave on like the 16th of January.
No,
Yeah, all right. No, so rephrase the question. Did I do January? No, I didn't. But I like to convince myself that I did.
yeah, it was a damp January-ish.
Yeah,
Kind
let's
of,
go with that.
If you go with that 8 pints. Yeah.
I was going to ask if you did, but I know
No, I
people got
didn't,
pissed together. So
No, I actually did sober October last year, which was, I quite enjoyed it
yeah.
in a way. I felt good.
Mm.
But yeah, didn't fancy January again.
Yeah, it's just such a miserable month as is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
why deny yourself one of life's great pleasures?
exactly. And obviously neither of us did it, but I can imagine that, after that first drink, some people might get a bit carried away.
Your tolerance has dropped as
Tolerance
well.
has dropped, as I'm sure it had for you on the 16th of January.
Zach had to put me in a cab. Hold my hair back.
Did you? Yeah, I don't know. I think George was there sort of stuffing his face with chicken nuggets, woke up with a traffic cone in his kitchen. But he did at least draw the line at biting a chunk out of one of his colleagues' faces.
What?
Fortunately for me. Because that is exactly what the Fiji rugby international, Masivesi Dakuaka, did after his first beer of the year. So he plays in France for Biarritz. And Biarritz, they'd been on a pretty bad run of form, and at the start of February, they decided that they go out for a meal together to sort of build a bit of team spirit. But Masivesi had been off the sauce for a little while, and he got a bit carried away on the aperitifs. And by the end of the dinner, he was absolutely out of it. And as they were leaving the restaurant, he got into a bit of a dispute with his teammates. They suggested that he didn't drive home, which probably sounds like a good idea. He completely lost the plot, smashed the window of a parked car, and then sank his teeth into the face of one of his teammates, Pierre Paget. It was like a seriously nasty bite. The guy needed 20 stitches to his face.
As unhinged.
It was,
Also,
quite mad.
if you get a human bite is one of the worst. You have to have so many jabs and injections
really?
just because of the back. Yeah, it's really bad. The bacteria in it's worse than or as bad as getting like bitten by a dog, basically,
Really?
in terms of the stuff that you've got to go
What
through.
do we carry?
I don't know what it is, and it's quite surprising because you think most people brush their teeth at least once a day. But
I guess we're most susceptible to other human carried infections and viruses and stuff.
I think that's what it is. It's just such a high risk of the wound getting infected that you have to have like these horrible antibiotics. It's really, really bad to get a human bite.
20 stitches as well. It must be like it's like a big bite.
Yeah, I don't get how pissed you are. Like, who's taking chunks out of people's faces? Like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, it really is. Masivesi says he doesn't remember any of it. So he woke up the following morning in a police station in the drunk tank. No shirt on, no recollection of what happened. And apparently at some point the police come in and he's like, oh my God, like what the hell happened? And they're like, you bit someone. He's like, what? I bit someone? Who did I bite? And the police get up a picture of his teammate on Google and they're like, him, you bit him. And he was like, oh fuck. Oh my God, what have I done?
Oh mate.
So he eventually gets out. He's just done an interview with French press where he's basically pleading for forgiveness. He said, everything was going well. We were telling stories and having a laugh. Then I had a blackout. If I hadn't been drinking, I would never have done this. I had made good resolutions for this new year. After dry January, this is the first time I had a drink. So he's really ended dry January with a bang.
Yeah, he's back in the
Gotta
game.
give him that.
Also, I just always think with these rugby players, because I remember was it Tuolangi who got tasered?
Yeah.
I just think how much alcohol are these boys having to drink to get that drunk, because they're obviously big fellas.
Yeah.
I mean,
the thing is, it's such a culture of rugby, right?
Yeah.
It's like insane drinking, and it's like a bit of a challenge.
How are the French press taking his apology? Have the club said anything?
So the club have now sacked him.
Oh, straight up.
Yeah. Which probably fair.
Do you reckon they'll end up in prison for this?
Well, there is going to be a criminal trial in March.
Like, could you imagine if you'd done that to
Writer
George or Jack?
Yeah, Jack's just ill. He's off this week. He's he'll probably be back next week or the next 6 weeks possibly. Yeah.
Zach viciously attacked him on a work night out.
So there was a lot of excitement over the weekend when Rowan Atkinson was spotted in Piccadilly Circus filming what fans thought could be a new Mr. Bean film. At least I think it was Rowan Atkinson. It could perhaps be the infamous Mr. Bean imposter who once sparked a bitter sporting feud. So a few years ago, Zimbabwe played Pakistan at cricket at the T20 Cricket World Cup. And in the build-up to the match, the Pakistani cricket board was bombarded with messages from Zimbabwean fans. So one of them read, "As Zimbabweans, we won't forgive you. You once gave us that fraud Pak Bean instead of Mr. Bean Rowan. We will settle the matter tomorrow. Just pray the rains will save you." So naturally, everyone at the Pakistani cricket board was wondering what the hell they were on about. And it turned out that it all stemmed from an incident back in 2016. So there'd been this big agricultural show in Harare, which is the capital of Zimbabwe. And Mr. Bean was advertised as a special guest. And, you know, Mr. Bean's like a huge deal in Zimbabwe and all around the world. So people flocked onto the streets, hoping to catch a glimpse of Rowan Atkinson in his famous role. But as soon as the special guest stepped off the plane, it became clear that something wasn't quite right. And it turned out that they had booked a Pakistani Mr. Bean impersonator, a comedian called Asif Mohammed, who also goes by the name of Pak Bean. We've got a clip here of Pak Bean in Zimbabwe. It's clearly not Rowan Atkinson though.
I mean, he does strike a resemblance to.
It's a good impression.
Yeah, as impersonators go, I think he's pretty good. I think he looks as much like Bean as this guy looks like Gary Neville, the Qatari Gary Neville.
The Qatari Gary Neville, who's the artwork in our studio, which a lot of people thought it was like a Photoshop picture of Gary Neville onto
traditional Qatari
dress, but it is genuinely a Qatari broadcaster whose name I can't remember, but has a very striking resemblance to Gary Neville, much like Pak Bean does to Mr. Bean. But eventually, the Zimbabwean public rumble Pak Bean, and they're absolutely fuming about it. Pak Bean ends up having to make a statement, which obviously he does in character. Got a clip of it.
Hello, how are you, my lovely, my friend? How are you? I am Mr. Pak Bean. Oh, yes. And lovely, and very lovely. Zimbabwe, yes. I love you, Zimbabwe. I like it. Zimbabwe, I love you. Zimbabwe people. Yes, Zimbabwe people. I am Mr. Bean, Pakistan. Oh, yes. And Pakistan and Zimbabwe cricket, very tough. Oh yes, very tough. And oh yeah, okay. You and me, yes. Mokabla, yes, Mokabla. And Oh, for
so
6 rounds. Oh, okay. So love you Zimbabwe and love you Pakistan and all countries, peoples, audience. I love you Zimbabwe. I love you Pakistan. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Ridiculous.
It is bad. But also, I mean, Mr. Bean obviously famously doesn't speak, so he sort of had to break character there. Pak
Yeah, a little bit. Oh,
Bean. I mean, he is talking absolute nonsense. But
it is funny how angry they were about this whole
yeah,
situation.
they were like fuming. It was the Twitter sphere was absolutely popping off. And anyway, so that was like I think they saw it as a bit of like a national humiliation, an affront to the Zimbabwean people from Pakistan. So when this cricket match rolled around, it was a chance for Zimbabwe to finally take revenge. And take revenge they did. They got a famous win. And the country went absolutely wild. Everyone was bringing up the old Pak Bean affair. Even the Zimbabwean president waded in. So he tweeted, "What a win for Zimbabwe. Next time, send a real Mr. Bean."
Being known as the Pak Bean Derby.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. El Pacico. Actually, on the subject of lookalikes, have you seen the Iranian Roberto Baggio?
I've not, no.
So this is an Iranian barber who is basically a super fan of Baggio. He's turned his barbershop into a shrine to him with like photos of him, lots of his shirts. And he's also acquired his trademark ponytail. We've got a clip of him here.
تازه یه مغازم داره پر از لباسای کلکسیونی ایتالیا.
It's an iconic look.
Yeah, it's an iconic look, but it's such a random footballer to kind of
Yeah.
build a shrine to and become obsessed with.
Yeah.
You wonder what was happening to that guy at that period of his life, that as he was watching the 1994 World Cup, he's just thought, that is the man, that's the look that I'm going to go for.
He's gone fully in for it. Like, he speaks decent Italian. So it was the reason this was doing the rounds this week is because it was Baggio's 58th birthday, and this guy put on like a special exhibition of like, honestly, like 15-foot high pictures of Baggio in Tehran, and yeah, he was there with his fluffy ponytail.
Seen that drift cult of that random tribe who all worship
Prince Charles.
King Charles,
Yeah.
I should say, yeah. And sort of giving that a little bit. this random barber in Iran set up a shrine to Roberto Baggio.
Yeah. Why do they love King? I hate calling him King Charles. It seems quite weird.
Charlie.
Seems very, like,
Let's just call him Charlie.
deference.
He visited them in the 80s or something, and it was one of the first times that this tribe had been in contact with outside civil, some, I guess, a white dude. So they were all just like, who the hell is this big-eared freak? And became quite infatuated with him.
They just took one look at his sausage fingers and like, this man, this is it.
Yeah.
But
they've all got like,
I guess if he must have rocked up with like a big entourage, and it's sort of like, well, I mean, if they all worship him, then
yeah, I can understand how it's happened.
It's either that or David Icke's accusing you of being a shape-shifting lizard, so it can go either way. Leeds are flying at the moment, so they're top of the championship, and they look like a pretty good bet for a straight return to the Premier League. And they've been doing all of that without their striker Patrick Bamford, who's been out since the new year with a hamstring injury. And, Leeds fans are probably picturing Patrick grafting away with the physios at the training ground, busting his gut to get fit for the title run-in. They probably wouldn't expect to spot him bouncing around at Jumperoo's trampoline park, which is where he was spotted this week. We've got a clip of him.
No. What makes it even funny is this is like leaked footage. It's not
some Leeds fan who worked behind the desk at Jumperoo's has leaked this footage.
You will not believe if I've just seen.
Yeah. Also,
fucking Bamford.
Yeah. Also, from this clip, like you'd think most people go down to Jumperoo's trampoline park for maybe a kid's birthday party or something, but he appears to be on his own.
Yes,
He's just bouncing about between the trampolines.
it's like he's booked out the whole complex so he can have some quality trampolining time in peace.
To be fair, if you've ever been to one of those places on a Saturday afternoon, it is absolute hell. It's just filled with like hundreds of screaming kids running around.
I can imagine.
Belting out Taylor Swift, throwing Fanta at each other.
Didn't you used to trampoline competitively, Zach?
Competitively might be a bit of a stretch. I did it at uni. Yeah, I did. I was in the trampolining team.
What was there? What were the trampolining team called? Did you have a nickname for your team?
The
Jumping Zach Flash, something like that.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, we didn't have a name actually. Bounce boys.
The Bounce Boys. Jumping Zach Flash and the Bounce Boys. Because I remember when we first started doing the upshot, we got a tweet from some guy being like, it was like when the dudes from your trampolining team at uni pops up on your Instagram feed.
Jerry, shout out to Jerry.
Shout out to Jerry, yeah.
I did do it for 1 year, I think. So they basically have like different tiers. So when you go into like competitions against other unis, there's 6 different levels. I think I actually got to the second bottom level by the end. So I could do a backflip, I could do a front flip.
Nice one.
Do some whatever else, seat drop.
I know what we're doing for the next upshot social.
What, Jumperoos? Yeah. We'll see Patrick down there probably.
Is it like riding a bike? Will it all come back to you, or are you a bit rusty now?
You know what? I actually a few years ago tried to do a backflip or a front flip, I think it was, on a trampoline when I was a bit drunk and fell off and almost broke my neck. So maybe that was more being a bit pissed.
Yeah.
But,
were you at a party being like, guys?
Yeah, it was basically like that.
Get a load of this. Yeah. Hold my beer.
It was, you've absolutely nailed what happened. But yeah, I can do a backflip. Backflips are easier than front flips, actually.
Nice.
Personally, I think. And maybe Patrick will agree. So he's obviously he's out injured at the moment. So, not exactly. Maybe who knows? Maybe that's actually good for his rehab.
Yeah. What is the most common injury sustained in trampolining?
I think probably neck injuries. Yeah, because you just misjudge it,
landing on your head. That's always my fear of like. On the very few times I've ever been on trampoline, that's the big fear, isn't it? You just land directly on your head.
Yeah,
spring your neck back.
It is mental. Like we used to go to these competitions, and like the people who were competing in the top tier, like you'd go to these like sports centers, there'd be a balcony around the edge, and you'd go and watch from up there, and they'd be jumping as high as the balcony.
Yeah,
higher. It was like insane, doing like triple backflips.
Wow.
I was like, if that goes wrong, then.
Yeah, you're in the world of pain. Could you imagine if Bamford had aggravated his injury?
Yeah.
on the trampoline.
Yeah, it's
like he's recovered from his hamstring, but he's out for 6 weeks with a neck brace on.
Yeah. To be fair, he's just making the most of his time off, because it's not often that you can get down to Jumperoos for a quiet, tranquil midweek bounce, unburdened by the over-caffeinated children of the weekend.
Yeah, it's quite sweet as well. It's quite nice and wholesome. It reminds me a little bit of Rodrigo Muniz going to Madame Tussauds and the like.
Yeah, that's his favourite thing to do in London, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed.
Yeah, maybe him and Patrick can have a day out together.
Maybe they can
go to like Longleat Safari Park. So there was a clip going around this week of Joe Cole being asked about his dream dinner party guests. He has some pretty rogue choices.
If you could invite any 3 people to a dinner, who would it be?
Donald Trump.
Okay.
Keir Starmer. And Elvis Presley.
Okay, quite the political table.
Yeah. Well, I need to know what's going on. We all need to know what's going on. What's happening, man?
Very odd trio, really.
Yeah, I can't imagine them gelling all that much.
Yeah, I don't know. Keir Starmer's there just like trying to convince Trump to ship F-35 jets to Kiev and not rename the Bristol Channel the Channel of America. And I don't know what Elvis is doing there, really. Just
sort of
stuffing his face, probably.
Yeah, you know that there wouldn't be much food left behind. Keir Starmer's the weird, like Trump, obviously.
Yeah, Trump kind of interesting.
I think he's. I mean, I wouldn't want him at my dinner party for myriad reasons, but at least he'd probably be fairly entertaining.
Yeah.
Whereas Starmer, that's the one I really can't get my head around.
I feel like he wouldn't really. Yeah, he's one of these people who you just really want them to like let the guard down a little bit for dinner, like have a couple of glasses of wine. But I think he's very, built up.
So the public deserves to know how you made this macaroni cheese. It'd be like just boring chat.
Yeah. Maybe what's Elvis adding? Entertainment, maybe?
Oh, mate, Elvis he's the king, isn't he?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a weird vibe with Elvis, I feel like.
Bit of a weird vibe.
With those, it's a weird trio.
Yeah, it's a very, very unusual trio. Elvis is there just like turning the television on and off with his gun, teaching them karate moves.
Yeah. Showing them his recipe for a bread hollowed out and filled with peanut butter and jam.
Yeah.
But whatever happens at Joe's party, it won't be quite as strange a vibe as former Crystal Palace defender Damien Delaney's dream dinner party. So he was asked about this a few years ago and he responded. He said, Joseph Stalin, Genghis Khan, Chairman Mao, Napoleon, and Keith Richards. Which is again a bit of an odd mix. You got like four bloodthirsty dictators and a faded rock star.
That is a hilarious mix of people.
What are they chatting about?
I've got absolutely no idea.
I enjoyed his caveat for Joseph Stalin was, I'm fascinated by Russian history, not because I'm a Stalinist.
Right. Who of those people that would be the worst vibe? It's got to be Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan is like one of the most ruthless killers in human history.
Yeah.
Murdering, like responsible for the murder of literally hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, I also feel like he'd be complaining a lot about the food. He just wants to eat like human brains straight out of the skull.
Yeah, I can't imagine Mao being all that fun either.
No, so
famously bad personal hygiene as well, which you don't want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Damien Delaney's spin on Chairman Mao was, imagine uniting a community of 1 billion or so people, which is one way to look at what he did. He also, responsible for the deaths of 45 million people. But, yeah.
But instigating famine.
Yeah. It's
what about
dinner party.
What was his excuse for Napoleon?
Again, just fascinating. I don't admire these people, but I have an absolute fascination with historical leaders.
Yeah.
Which, he has got a interesting mix of them there.
Yeah, I mean, but like interesting and good company at a dinner party are very different things. Like, I'm not inviting fucking Vlad the Impaler around for dinner.
Interesting guy. I'm sure he's got some stories, but
yeah. I bet he's got some stories.
Who would your
Peter Sutcliffe, Paul Pot,
Lucy Letby,
and Ted Bundy. You say Lucy Letby?
Maybe that's too far. I just want to. There's a few things I want to clear up.
I just think maybe after a few glasses of wine, we can finally get to the bottom of it.
There are just some things that don't add up, and I think over a steak tartare and some of my homemade tagliatelle, we can iron a few things out.
And moving on, Keith Richards was the need.
He's coming too. Yeah.
Is he coming too?
Yeah, he's coming to the same one. Yeah, just for a bit of light relief, really. Which you will need.
Yeah. Who would be the all-time upshot dinner party?
Upshot dinner party. That's a good one. Rodman's got to be there. Dennis Rodman.
Oh yeah, Rodman for sure. Ronaldinho.
He'd
be a laugh. It'd be a bit of a language barrier, but
it doesn't matter really with him. He'd just be samba dancing.
Yeah, he'd also bring his own suckling pig. I'd imagine.
Yeah,
Famously,
yeah.
the reward for winning the five-a-side tournament in the Panama jail.
Yeah.
Suckling pig's a fun thing to do at a dinner party. What would you do if you went around a mates and they'd prepared a suckling pig with an apple in its mouth? Would you be like
I would be
on
I'd be
board?
quite
Or would you be like a bit
impressed,
weird?
I mean both, but you've put a lot of effort in there.
Yeah.
I think Tino Espria
Oh,
would be
yeah.
very good value.
Excellent.
Hopefully he'll bring his horse.
Mm.
Who else?
Maradona.
Ooh,
Might be a bit intense.
Yeah, Maradona. He'll bring the party bags.
You'd be in for a late one if it was Maradona.
I reckon Wayne Rooney would be a good.
Yeah. Yeah, Rooney would be a
He's
good
got
laugh.
some stories. He's very open.
Bring his
about
karaoke
his,
machine.
Personal things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Brooklyn Beckham on the food.
Yes. Brooklyn Beckham can bring he can bring the food, exactly.
We're having egg and bacon sandwiches, but
there'll be plenty of hot sauce. Have you seen his most recent Instagram post that he put out, Brooklyn? So he does these little cooking videos, the little sort of TikTok cooking videos that are like, he give you a recipe in 10 minutes. And I have to say I do really like these kind of story. They show you a whole recipe condensed down into chopping it all up, and it's like 30 seconds. As Brooklyn Beckham's most recent one, he made what can only be described as black truffle tagliatelle, but effectively the extent of cooking is putting the tagliatelle in the boiling water. He then opens a jar full of pasta sauce.
Oh, he doesn't even make the sauce.
Doesn't even make the sauce, no.
Jar of dolmio.
Yeah, puts that in a frying pan, puts the noodles into the frying pan, and then effectively shaves some black truffle over the top of it. Also, important note is that he puts the pasta in what can only be described as a mug.
Yeah.
So it's really small. And then when he's shaving the black truffle, the truffle is going anywhere but inside the mug. So effectively wasting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You spent about 450 quid's worth of black truffle there. Also, I like that when he literally just has a jar of carbonara sauce, which he heats up in a frying pan and then adds the tagliatelle to. But when he adds a bit of pasta water to it. He's doing it sort of like Salt Bay style. Just
a little flourish. Yeah. And then tossing it in the pan before putting it into the world's smallest mug.
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, get him at the dinner party.
100%, yeah. We know what we're eating.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's all we've got time for.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast. If anyone's got any suggestions for the ultimate upshot dinner party, then
please do send them in.
Yeah, I would really love to see the Come Dine With Me episode with Napoleon, Genghis Khan,
Dennis Rodman, and Brooklyn Beckham.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, George.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me, Zach.
If you enjoyed that episode, please do share it with your friends in your WhatsApp groups or other messaging platforms that are available. Thank you for listening.